Ekadashi. Today's Ekadashi. Very, very auspicious day. And an important day as well. In Srila Thakur Bhaktivinoda it says, Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani. So Ekadashi is Madhavatiti, it's a special day, Krishna's special day. And it's very important that we observe Ekadashi. Ekadashi takes place on the 11th day of the waxing moon and the waning moon. But it's not that simple. Actually, there are some quite very kind of fine distinctions for calculating Ekadashi. So if it's Shuddha Ekadashi, pure Ekadashi, then we observe on that day. Otherwise, we observe on the Dvadashi. So there's some rules, and so we also have to consult the calendar to find out actually when Ekadashi is, what day we're observing Ekadashi. And very often the Vaishnavas we observe on a different day than the Smartas, because they don't observe Shuddha Ekadashi. They just observe on the 11th day of the moon, like whatever, yeah. But we have there's more distinction. So it's not always the same. Physically, Gurudev says that on that day the moon actually has a particular effect on liquids. So if you have grains in your stomach or in your body, then it's going to affect your body more. Actually, it's a fact that the moon does have an effect on the organism. It has effect on, anyone who's done any gardening or serious gardening knows that if you plant according to the cycles of the moon, you're much more successful. Plants are very sensitive, so the body is also sensitive. The mind is very sensitive. So on that day, it's very beneficial to fast. But that's a physical cause. But there are other much more important causes. So spiritually, there's one pastime that Vishnu was in hell or close to hell, and he'd hear so much screaming, and he asked Yamaraj, what's happening, what's going on? So Yamaraj said, this is old people suffering in hell. So Vishnu was very compassionate, and he said, okay, then I'll institute Ekadashi, and people who fast on Ekadashi, they'll be freed from sinful reactions. So after that, people were fasting, and practically hell was empty. Nobody there. So then Papa Purush came to Vishnu. Papa Purush is the personification of sinful reactions. So he came to Vishnu and he said, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go on the 11th day? I don't have anywhere. Take my job away. So Vishnu said, okay, you can take shelter in beans and grains on Ekadashi. So if you take beans and grains on Ekadashi, then you're taking sinful reactions. Of course, taking any food without offering it to the Lord, then naturally you're taking sinful reactions, because any food, practically speaking, any food, there's sinful karma involved. You have to kill potatoes, you have to kill the potatoes to eat them. Cabbages, generally, you kill the cabbages. Nuts and fruits, okay. But generally speaking, there's sinful karma involved. But if you offer in sacrifice, that karma is taken away. But that won't be effective on Ekadashis. So therefore, devotees abstain, at least abstaining from grains and beans on Ekadashi. Grains means rice, wheat, barley, like that. In ISKCON, they're kind of fairly easy about it. Like, on one occasion, somebody said to Srila Prabhupada, Prabhupada, in powdered milk, they add 2% wheat flour or corn flour or something just to stop it from caking. So that means we shouldn't take it on Ekadashi, right? Prabhupada said we have to be practical, not fanatical. But in the Gaudiya Math, very, very strict. Not only peas and beans, but tomatoes, what else? green leafy vegetables, different things we don't take on Ekadashi. Because Ekadashi actually is a day of austerity. So if we observe austerity on Ekadashi, then it's very auspicious. And actually to observe Ekadashi strictly, it means fasting completely. And if you can fast near Jala, then that's even more beneficial. And the original way of doing Ekadashi is that on the day before you only take one meal. And then the day afterwards also only one meal. So Ekadashi is actually just a 3-day observance. And if you do that, then there's so much pious benefit, but also devotional benefit, depending on how you do it. I mean, if we fast and then we can't do any service on that day, that's not very beneficial. In India, many people follow Ekadashi just for pious benefits. It's very beneficial as a religious observance, whether they're Vaishnavas or not, even. It's good luck, beneficial. But for Vaishnavas, it's very important. So, Ekadashi, 11. Ekadashi is the 11th day. So why 11th day? So one explanation is, there's 5 active senses and 5 senses for gathering knowledge. We have 5 senses, like sense of taste, touch, smells, hearing, and the other one? Sight. And then the active senses also. Arms, legs, speech, anus, genitals. So there's 10 senses, 10 ways of interacting with the world. And then the mind. The mind is the center of all the senses. So Ekadashi means fasting. Actual fasting means not engaging in gratifying the senses. That's real fasting. Not just not eating. But real fasting means not engaging in gratifying the senses. And more than that, on Ekadashi, we're supposed to spend time reading, chanting, hearing, like that, glorifying Krishna. Sometimes devotees stay up all night. That's also another observance on Ekadashi. Stay up all night chanting and hearing like that. On Ekadashi, it said that Krishna, he rests. And he rests with the devotees. So, Ekadashi is one of the... It's very important observance for Vaishnavas. Very important observance. For new devotees or anything. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, on one occasion, in the Hindu society at that time, it was a custom that a widow wouldn't observe Ekadashi. She would eat grains on Ekadashi. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, so his mother was following that custom after Jagannath Mishra, her husband, after Mahaprabhu's father passed away. She was observing that. Observing that custom, and she was taking grains on Ekadashi. So one day, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, "I want to ask a boon from you." I said, "Okay, whatever you want. What do you want?" He said, "I just want you don't take grains on Ekadashi." It's so important. It's very important. But it doesn't mean that Krishna doesn't have to observe Ekadashi, because he's not sadhak. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he'll observe it. We're worshipping Gaur-Nitai on the altar. So, we won't offer them Ekadashi perhaps. We won't offer them grains on Ekadashi, because of devotees. But Satchidananda and Gaura Hari and Radha Krishna, they get everything. But the devotees don't take that Mahaprasad on that day, next day, not that day. Gauri Mat, they're very strict. I mean, for example, they won't take sweets that have been made with glucose from grains, and raisins which have been, so they put oil on raisins. So if the raisins are from oil like soybean oil, for example, corn oil, they won't take that either. So strict. Anyway, but the main point is that we should try on Ekadashi to abstain. Certainly we should observe the restriction on peas and beans. and leafy vegetables and so on. And also, as much as possible, we should abstain from material activity, and as much as possible we should hear and chant and remember, like that, engage in devotional activity. And this will be very, very beneficial for our bhakti. Madhavatiti Bhakti Janani. So these days, the mother of devotion.